What's good? What's going on, BINO Nation? We back at it yet again this afternoon for the Street Conservative News. Y'all already know what it is, man. Make sure y'all putting the fire signs in the chat. Make sure y'all putting the BINO shields in the chat as well. Y'all already know what we got to talk about. We got to talk about Miss Letitia James. Hmm. 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 Let's see. Let's check it out. Yeah, I've been waiting. I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting patiently for this. I knew this day was coming. I knew this day was coming.
We're learning this, quote, a top prosecutor in Virginia has informed colleagues that she plans to decline to seek charges against New York Attorney General Tish James, resisting intense pressure from President Donald Trump. That's according to two people familiar with her discussions.
A few moments later.
We are following this breaking news. The clerk of the Court of Eastern Virginia says a grand jury has indicted New York Attorney General Letitia James.
And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today.
Ooh. Oh my God, bro. So for everybody that's watching, first you had the indictment of Comey, right? You had the indictment of James Comey, right? And like I said, I'm not that optimistic about the James Comey indictment. I personally believe that he's gonna wiggle his way out of that. I think he's gonna get out of that unscathed. But I don't think it's gonna be the same for Miss Letitia James. I don't think it's gonna be the same, and we're gonna check out why, because it's really interesting what she's got herself caught up in. And we're gonna break it down. We have the indictment. We're gonna go over the indictment and all of that good stuff. So let's pull up this video real quick. I think this is Fox and Friends.
Fraud charges after prosecutors say
a federal grand jury in Virginia has indicted New York Attorney General Letitia James on criminal charges after an investigation by the Department of Justice.
Chanley Painter has the details. Good morning, Chanley.
Hey, good morning. So New York Attorney General Letitia James facing federal mortgage fraud charges after prosecutors say she falsely claimed a home in Virginia as her second residence while using it as a rental property. A federal grand jury finding that she was then able to obtain more optimal loan terms. Well, James now faces a 2-count indictment, including 1 count of bank fraud and 1 count of making false statements to a financial institution. Each count carries a potential sentence of up to 30 years in prison and up to $1 million in fine and forfeiture.
This is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system.
Desperate weaponization of our justice system. You literally ran. She ran her campaign on, I'm going to lock him up. Do you realize what that means? What that means is that before she even had charges, before she was even certain that Donald Trump had committed any type of crime, she was already saying that she was going to lock him up. Like it amazes me how these people can sit on the news and lie through their teeth. I swear to you, they are the most evil people that have ever walked this globe. I promise you. The way they can just sit there with a straight face and just completely and utterly lie to the American people is beyond me. Like, the level of manipulation is crazy. Like, you're literally accusing Donald Trump of what you did. You literally did that. And here's the thing. When you look at the two different scenarios, right? What you hit Donald Trump with was unprecedented. Nobody has ever been, the folks up in New York, they admitted that no one had ever been prosecuted for that. Okay. Overinflating one's property in order to get a loan, right? What they don't want to tell you is that a lot of people do it. That's what they don't want to tell you. A lot of people do it, right? And the reason why on appeal, Trump actually won that case is because the bank that he borrowed the money from, they knew that he overinflated the value of his property. He paid the loan back, and the reason why they granted him the loan is because he's had loans with them previously, and he paid it back every single time. So the problem with that particular case is they were trying to say, okay, who's the damaged party? Who is the damaged party? Who was defrauded? Nobody was defrauded, right? But the problem with Letitia James's situation is she basically declared on a document that was signed by a notary public and I think two other witnesses, two people that work in her office, right? So you got the notary public and you got two people that work in her office that witnessed in 2021 her declaring that the property she was purchasing was going to be her primary residence. Okay? Because she was declaring that it was going to be her primary residence, she was able to get a much better mortgage rate because she was not, declaring that it was going to be a rental property. This saved her about $18,000 some. Like this is that is fraud. That's fraud, whether you like it or not, right? So in her situation, and she's tried to have her attorneys pull some records and say, oh, well, in 2023, we explained that I said it wasn't my priority. That don't matter, because in 2021, when you initially got the mortgage, you declared on the paperwork that this would be your primary residence. There's only one problem with that. How the hell are you going to have a primary? And see, nobody's talking about this. Nobody's talking about the other side of it. Nobody's talking about the fact that how are you going to be a resident of Virginia and the Attorney General of New York? Now, I could be wrong. Y'all can look it up, if you want to. Y'all can look it up, and let me know. But if I remember correctly, you can't be the Attorney General of New York while simultaneously, how you going to be the state Attorney General while simultaneously being a resident of Virginia? A primary resident. If that's your primary residence in Virginia, that means you live in Virginia. That means that's where you are the majority of the time. How are you going to hold public office, in the state of New York if your primary residence is Virginia? And the funniest thing about it is she's doing all of these she's engaging in all of these shenanigans and pretending like there's nothing wrong with what she's doing. This is an abuse of power. This is an abuse of power. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. This is her saying, "Oh, well, I'm the Attorney General of New York. I'm the top cop of New York. Who's gonna stop me from doing what I want to do? Who's gonna stop me? Who's gonna stop her?" See, people like her that get these high profile positions, they're used to breaking the law. we got to point this out, man. We got to point this out, and we got to be clear about this. They are used to breaking the law. They're used to doing whatever they want to do and getting away with it because they're the ones who enforce the laws. So, it's kind of like that thing where people say, who's going to police the police? Who's going to police the police? If you, but even more, when you have these bureaucrats that are engaging in this type of activity, who's gonna hold their feet to the fire, right?
These charges are baseless, and the president's own public statements make clear that his only goal is political retribution at any cost. I stand strongly behind my office's litigation against the Trump Organization.
Critics of President Trump say he called on the Justice Department to bring charges against James as retribution for previous lawsuits she brought against the commander-in-chief during his first term, something that those in the administration and federal prosecutors, of course, deny. The U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia say this, quote, no one is above the law. The charges as alleged in this case represent intentional criminal acts and tremendous breaches of the public's trust. The facts and the law in this case are clear, and we will continue following them to ensure that justice is served. James is set to be arraigned on October 24th, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, you're not supposed to say untruths to banks.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. And
you really can't talk about weaponization when you have a person that campaigned on getting Donald Trump and then did it once they became the attorney general. I just don't have the appetite to hear about.
She would sit in the court, kick off her shoes, and just watch the whole trial every single day. I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm
And look, I'm gonna keep it real with you. There is nothing worse. There's nothing worse. And you know what I'm getting ready to say, right? You know what I'm getting ready to say. There is nothing worse than that type of individual having a position of power. And she just knew. She just knew, I'm going to lock Donald Trump up. Right? She just knew that she was going to lock Donald Trump up. And surprisingly, you were not able to lock him up. And now you want to be butthurt. Now you want to be upset. Now you want to be, oh my God, this is a travesty of justice and blah blah blah. This is not. Let's see what Mayor Giuliani had to say about it. So let's see what old Giuliani had to say about it. Let's pull him up real quick.
What she was trying to do to President Trump. It seems to me the difference between this and what she was trying to do to President Trump, there seems to be some there with Letitia James. How do you see it as a legal professional?
Well, I seem to remember back the early days of law school when they defined fraud, going back about, 700 or 800 years into England. It was based on a loss. So I defrauded you. It was a form of theft, right? I said something or I pretended something. I got money from you. So Trump never had a loss. I think it's the first fraud case in the history of English American law without a loss. Now, hers has a big loss in two ways. First of all, taxes. She got a big break on taxes by falsely claiming she had 2 permanent residences, which of course are absurd because during the time, I think she claimed she was a resident of Maryland while she was Attorney General in New York. I don't know if that doesn't disqualify everything she did as Attorney General in New York. Maybe Trump should move for the dismissal of the case because she wasn't an Attorney General. The Attorney General of New York has to have a primary residence in the state of New York, according to the New York Constitution.
Yep.
She had 2 primary residences.
I knew
that
it.
Doesn't count.
I told you. Bro, I know what I'm talking about, bro. I told you. I know what I'm talking about, bro. If you want to be, I wondered why the chat wasn't moving. I had members only instead of instead of subscriber. My bad, y'all. I told y'all everything, anybody that had a case under Letitia James, what they should be doing is they should be moving, they should be asking their lawyers to ask for a dismissal. They should be asking their lawyers to ask for a dismissal. You feel me?
Primary residence in the state of New York, according to the New York Constitution. She had 2 primary residences. That doesn't count. And that ended up in her getting a great deal of money fraudulently. And I think she's going to be tried, if I'm not mistaken. It's not going to be in New York, right? It's going to be in Maryland. So maybe there's a chance that we'll get a.
Well, yeah, let's hope that, but of course, remember, she thinks she can live in 2 places at the same time. These are the same people that think that men can have babies. So, I mean, let's leave some room for that. As far as the nuts and bolts of this, Mr. Mayor, are concerned, do you think that this is a good case? I know you probably haven't had time to read the entire complaint, but do you think that it's solid?
It's very solid. It's a question of whether a jury, if you were going to try this in Washington, D.C., you would not win this case. If you try this case in a neutral America, something that's not heavily Republican or Democratic, it's most likely a conviction. I mean, it's as clear as you can. She's clearly guilty. The question will be, does the jury somehow sympathize with her or think she was confused? She claimed primary residences in 2 places. You only can have 1, and as a basis of having 1 in that place, you get either a tax break or you get a break on the loan.
I mean, bro, just look at that. Like I'm paying attention to what he's saying, but look at how she just showed up to court every day just to stare at the back of Trump's head. Like this is typical. This is typical American B-dub bitter triflingness. If triflingness is a word, right? But that's what this is. This is what happens when, someone like this, who is obviously bitter and trifling, right? And let's not forget, on one application, and a lot of people don't talk about that, on one application, she listed her father as her husband. I don't know if y'all remember that, because we've been talking about this. We've been talking about this case. We've been talking about the possibility of this case, right? But this is a sick individual. This is a sick individual. I don't care what nobody say. Like, instead of her, like, she wins the, you got to question if she even won, and became AG because of her merit, or simply because there were a bunch of people in New York that didn't like Donald Trump. And because she ran on going after Donald Trump, that's the reason they voted for her. One could argue that's the reason they voted for her. Because when she was running for office, all she did was scream from the rafters that she was going to lock up Donald Trump. And she has the nerve, the unmitigated gall to be sitting up here talking about lawfare. Baseless charges. What? Basically, you're the queen of baseless charges. You're the queen of lawfare. You're the queen of lawfare. And I'll tell you something else too. I have not, ever since I've started critiquing this woman, I have not visited New York. And I refuse to. I don't think I'm going to go to New York until she's no longer Attorney General. Like, seriously. That's how much I don't like her. That's how much I don't like her. Like, for real. Because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And like, bro, this is why, man, I keep saying this, man. I can't say it right now, but I keep saying this. They shouldn't be in charge of a popsicle stand. They shouldn't be in charge of a pie factory. I've been saying this over and over again. Like she did not look. Anybody with common sense could look at this whole scenario and tell what it was. She filled out that application saying that she would be the primary resident to get a better mortgage rate, and then turned around and used it as a rental property. Did she do it because she made a mistake? No. Do you think for 1 second she's an attorney general? Prior to being an attorney general, wasn't she a lawyer? Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Prior to being an attorney general, she was a lawyer, right? She was a lawyer, right? The crazy thing about this is it's just like when police officers break the law. In my humble opinion, when a police officer breaks the law, the penalty they should face should be heavier. If you can prove that they broke the law, right? The penalty should be heavier because they are supposed to know and uphold the law. Now, if she goes in front of a judge and a jury that's worth a damn, the only question I would ask as a prosecutor, if I was the prosecutor, was, do you really expect us to believe that an attorney general didn't understand the paperwork? Do you really think that we think for a second that this woman who handles paperwork all the time, it's her job, didn't understand what she was putting on the paperwork? You think she didn't understand when she had that paperwork signed and declared that she was going to be a primary residence and had two people from her office witness it in front of the notary republic? What is the point of having a notary republic if you could just say what you want to say on the document and not get in trouble for it? What's the point? Can somebody answer that question for me? Somebody in here, I need you to answer that question for me. What is the point of having a notary republic if you're going to say whatever you want to say on the paperwork that's not true, and then once it's found out you said something that's not true, nobody holds you accountable for it? What's the point of a notary? Why do I got to go to a notary and have them sign it and stamp it? Why does the notary have to go get registered and all? What is the point? If it don't mean nothing, what's the point? So she expects us to believe that because in 2023, she sent an email asking, I guess, the mortgage company saying, hey, I told you guys that this was not my primary residence. Where's the paperwork that proves this isn't my primary residence? I can't find it. This is her trying to cover her ass. And I believe personally that as it got closer to the election and it started looking like, I think this is what I think with Letitia James, right? This is what I think, and I could be wrong, right? Because I need to go look at the timeline. I need to go look at how everything lines up. I think when she started realizing that, one, Trump was not going to go to prison. Two, her case was about to fall flat. And three, there was a possibility that Trump would get reelected. I think she started thinking to herself, what could he possibly do to me if he gets elected? And then she thought about that property. And then start emailing and doing stuff. Like, bro, this is an obvious case of her trying to cover her tracks. This is an obvious case of her trying to cover her tracks. I don't care what nobody say. Because by 2023, you've already used that property as a rental property for what, 2 years? A property that's supposed to be your primary residence, but you're renting it out.
Or you get a break on the loan. Where
Yo, what's going on? Where's the BINO Nation at? Why is nobody chatting in the chat room? What's really good? What's really good? Where is everybody at? I'm not understanding. What's going on? Shout out to Stan. Appreciate you, Stan. Shout out to the lowly one. He says salute. Appreciate you. Shout out to Stan again. He said, oh, when the chickens come home to roost, you gotta love it. LOL. Yep. Yes, sir. Shout out to Jerome. He said, counting on a B-dub to get the job done is always a losing strategy. You will lose every time. That's facts. Shout out to David. And by the way, anybody that's supporting the show, whether on the Cash App side or the Super Chat side, will get a wrench. You know, we did the purge the other day. Shout out to David. He said, let's cook. Since this news broke, I've been fasting, waiting for this grill session. Yes, sir. Yes, indeed.
you get much better favorable terms. She got both. So she cheated both the government and the bank by lying, when in fact she had only one primary residence, which by law was New York. So yeah, that's a straight out crime. It's not holding up a bank, it's not shooting somebody, but it's a crime. And also,
and by that logic, she's caught between a rock and a hard place, because what she's going to have to establish, she's caught in a bunch of different lies, right? So if the prosecuting attorney says you were using this property as your secondary as your rental property, and then she, to that she would have to say, no, it's my primary residence. But she can't say that, because if she say it's her primary residence, that disqualifies her from being Attorney General of New York. So she can't go that route. That would be the worst case scenario. So since she's trying to, say, well, no, I'm a resident of New York, Brooklyn to be exact, right? That's what she said verbatim. She said, I'm a resident of New York, Brooklyn to be exact. Why? Because she doesn't want to disqualify herself from being Attorney General. So then it's like, okay, so you were using this property in Virginia as a rental property. And it's like, yes. Then why, when you filled out the paperwork, you said it was your primary residence? That's the part. That's the part that is gonna have her ass in a sling. Okay, that part right there, and it's clear cut. The only way that she's gonna skate through this is if she gets a judge and jury that is left leaning, Trump hating, Trump derangement syndrome having people. That's the only way. If she gets any fair, impartial people, she's in trouble. She's in trouble. Plain and simple, bro. Plain and simple. And here's the funny thing. I forgot who it was. A while back, I think right before the election, there was a guy, I can't remember which person it was. They went to the property. They went to the property that's supposed to be that she claimed was her primary residence in VA, that was basically a secondary property. And somebody in the house was yelling, "Get away from my house." Like, we just want to ask you some questions about the New York Attorney General, Letitia James. Is she a relative of yours? Get away from my house. They was yelling to get away from my house. You know what I think it is? This is what I think it is. I think that she got that residence and she put family members in it and she's charging the family members rent. That's what I think. That's what I think. I think she got this bright idea to, she probably had some family members that needed a place to stay or something. She said, you know what? I don't want to just kick out money for one of my family members to have a place to stay. So I know what I'll do. I'll purchase a property, say that I'm the primary resident, right? And her logic probably was like, well, I'm letting families stay there, so it's not like I'm renting it to strangers. So it's like, okay, I'll say it's my primary residence, because then I'll get a better mortgage rate, right? Because I'm an attorney general. Who's gonna stop me? Ain't nobody gonna prosecute me. But this shows you how dull-witted she is. This shows you how dull-witted she is. You're doing this while simultaneously concocting a scheme to try to lock Donald Trump up for some real estate shit. You're literally getting ready to possibly, allegedly commit real estate fraud or bank fraud, and you're simultaneously getting ready to charge somebody else with real estate bank fraud. And you thought that wasn't going to blow back on you? So she probably said to herself, and this is just my opinion, I can't prove it, but she probably said to herself, you know what? So-and-so needs a place to stay. I know what I'll do. I'll buy the place, say it's my primary residence so that I can get a more favorable mortgage. And then after I get it, I'll double back and just, rent it out and charge my family member the rent, and I'll get the tax break or the tax benefits for it being a rental property, because she got those benefits too. So she didn't just defraud the bank, allegedly. She also allegedly defrauded the United States government. So she got a benefit when it came to saying it was a primary residence, and she got a tax break for actually renting the property out, right? So she's got herself tangled up in a bunch of lies. You feel me?
By a phony. I mean, if the jury could hear how often she piously proclaimed about nobody's above the law, well, she clearly is.
I can see the montages being generated now by Newsmax and putting out there. Yeah, maybe some enterprising attorney will actually roll that out in court. Rudy Giuliani, thank you for being, again, Johnny on the spot with some great legal analysis, as always. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I wonder what my guy. Hold on, let me see what. Did Levitt speak on it? I swear to God, man, it's certain people, like you try to type their names up and they just make it damn near impossible to look up. I mean, Levin, they make it damn near impossible to look people up. Let's see. Hold on, you guys. Life, Liberty, Levin. I know he had something to say about Letitia James. I know he had something to say. Has he spoken on it? Come on, man. Come on. I know you had to have spoken on this. Lawfare against President Donald Trump. Come on. Come on, man. I know you spoke on this. Let's see. Letitia James. By the way, if y'all are coming in here, make sure you guys, if y'all are coming in here, make sure you guys are supporting the show. You can do so by hitting the Cash App, $ Fuel the Anger, $ The Angryman. Let's see. Okay, let's see what we actually, well, that's too long. He was talking for like an hour. I don't want to play where he was talking for an hour about Letitia James. I'm not that interested, but I did see some other people. Oh my God. Yo, Cuomo needs to be taken, like, bro. Chris Cuomo is a real piece of work, bro. He's a real piece of work. Well, watch this, bro.
On Dershowitz, okay? You just heard him say, I don't like that Trump is going after the AG. And you just heard him say, the judge had it right, that this isn't a rebellion in Illinois. Stop with the Dershowitz only says things that are good for Trump, okay? He has always been who he is today. It doesn't matter who the person is and how he feels about him politically. That criticism is unwarranted of him. Bill, what do you make of him going after James? Is this more of the problem, or do you see this as making it right?
Well, a grand jury indicted her, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so
Which
your
means half,
analysis
so 12,
then,
11 or 12 people.
okay, well, that's the system. So they indicted her, and then, you know, you said, well, she didn't say it. I don't like crying stuff on television at all. I don't care about this case very much. I think Letitia James is a terrible attorney general. The state of New York is totally out of control crime-wise. she's running around trumping up charges, pardon the pun, against the president and his family.
Does that make this right?
It's ridiculous.
But does that make...
Dude, shut up. I wish somebody would just tell him to shut the hell up. Like, for real. Does that make this right? I would have said, did it make it right when she did it? I'd have said, did it make it right when she did it? Or better yet, here's a better question, Chris Cuomo. Did she break the law? Now, here's a better question, Chris Cuomo. Is she above the law? And I'm going to tell you what it is with Chris Cuomo. I'm going to tell you what his problem is. His problem is he's upset that he was on the wrong side of history. That's what his problem is. That's what his issue is. His issue is he picked the losing team. And that's why he's on News Nation instead of what network was he on? I can't remember what network he was on. What network was Chris Cuomo on? Do y'all remember? What network was Fredo on? Was it CNN? I can't remember which one. It was CNN. Yeah. He's upset because he picked the wrong side of his. He picked the wrong side. He picked the wrong side. And that's why he's on News Nation all the time in his fifis and shit.
Make this right?
I don't know whether it's right or wrong because I'm not in the grand jury. I didn't see what they saw. So that
it's a very low standard.
Keep that into account. Now, CNN has acquitted Letitia James, so we shouldn't even bother with this anymore if CNN's going to say she's not
No, I don't
guilty.
agree with doing
CNN
that either. I'm just worried about the lawfare, Bill. I mean, it never ends. If you just keep going after people for cases that you wouldn't go after anyone else for, it never ends. That's my concern.
Okay. I'm not a big fan of that either, but I am a fan of justice. And I think Comey's indictment is the one that is most important. He destroyed that agency. He obviously terrible things. And it's under the Al Capone thing. We can't get him for the murder, but we'll get him for taxes. That's what the Comey thing is. So that's more than Letitia James and maybe Schiff and the real estate stuff. But the more important case is the Chicago thing. So this judge puts herself up as a arbiter of chaos. And both you and Counselor Dershowitz seem to have forgotten it was a shootout. And the shootout was caused by protesters that attacked 3 ICE agents with 10 automobiles. And a woman protester was shot, taken to the hospital. In the process, the Chicago police were called, as they would be to any disturbance at that level, and they were ordered not to help the ICE agents, putting the ICE agents in mortal danger because the woman had firearm in her car. Now, that elevates this case way above what the dopey judge was trying to say. Well, I don't think there's that.
No, not dopey judge.
It's not a matter of you
no
thinking
dopey judge.
anything. Yeah,
no dopey judge.
It was a terrible
It's not
ruling.
a rebellion. It's not a rebellion.
Okay.
Look, she's got to work. You just said
This is what's hilarious about this. He's not even on mainstream news anymore, and he's still fighting this same fruitless fight. He's not even on mainstream media anymore. And you know what? I think he thinks that if he keeps doing this, if he keeps playing this role, somebody will put him back on, a regular network. Like, I swear, bro, these dudes, they cannot read the room. They do not have the ability to read the room. They do not have the ability to read the room. But we do have the ability to read. So what we're going to do, we're going to read this indictment. Oh, yes. Yo, make sure y'all are hitting the Cash App supporting the show. Let's see who we got on the Cash App side. We got 2 people on the Cash App side. Shout out to my man D-Rock Den. He said the street conservative shoe. Appreciate you, bro. Shout out to Omar. He said, I just made some bread today. Electrical Trust Gang, no doubt, man. What's going on with the rest of the folks? Support the show. Let's pull this up real quick. See what we dealing with. Okay. United States District Court, Eastern District of Virginia. So she's got Letitia, United States of America versus Letitia James. She's got 1 count of bank fraud, 18 USC 1344. Count 2, false statements to a financial institution, 18 USC 1014. 18 USC, let's see, criminal forfeiture. Grand jury charges that general allegations at all times, shout out to Shamar, he said for the show, appreciate you. At all times relevant to this indictment, 1, Letitia A. James was a resident of Brooklyn, New York, and the borrower on a Fannie Mae-backed mortgage loan for the property located at 3121 blah, 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 Norfolk, Virginia. 2, OVM Financial, also known as Old Virginia Mortgage / Annie Mac, was a mortgage lending business located in Virginia Beach, Virginia, engaged in the business of originating and underwriting residential mortgage loans, including those backed by the Federal National Mortgage Association, Fannie Mae. OVM Financial qualified as a financial institution within the meaning of 18 USC 2010. Fannie Mae was a federally chartered corporation that purchased and guaranteed mortgages, operating as a government-sponsored enterprise under the oversight of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, FHFA. 4, First Savings Bank was state-chartered, FDIC-insured financial institution, certificate number 961, headquartered in Jacksonville, Indiana, which acquired mortgage loans through assignment and acquisition. First Savings Bank qualified as a financial institution within the meaning of 18 USC 21. 5, on or about August 17th of 2020, James, as sole borrower, purchased the 3-bedroom, 1-bath property located at so-and-so Avenue, Norfolk, Virginia. The property for approximately $137,000, financed with a mortgage loan of approximately $109,600, backed by Fannie Mae. This was her helping a family member get a place. That's what this was, bro. I don't care what nobody say. This was her helping a family member get a place, and she had the bright idea that I'm going to charge them rent. The loan was originated by OVM Financial under a signed second home rider, which required James as the sole borrower to occupy and use the property as her secondary residence and prohibited its use as a time-sharing or other shared ownership arrangement or agreement that requires her either to rent the property or give any other person any control over the occupancy or use of the property. Now, That basically means she cannot use this as a rental property. Now, there are certain loans that you can get that are beneficial loans. But those loans will require you to be a resident. It's just like if you buy uh, a duplex or a multiplex and you get a certain type of loan, the loan may require you to live in one of those units for a certain period of time, right? With this particular loan, the way it's breaking it down, it's saying that she couldn't use this as a rental property. And that's exactly what she did. Why? Probably because she's greedy. Probably because she's greedy. She's probably one of the few people in her family that has the level of success that she has. And they probably came to her asking her for help. Probably a family member that lives down there in VA. Probably came to her asking her for help. This is just me speculating. And she probably was like, well, I'll help you. Because I can't understand why an attorney general of New York that makes that kind of money and is a resident in Brooklyn would want, let's be honest, a shitty little property in Virginia. Why would she, what possible reason could she have for wanting a little raggedy 3-bedroom, 1-bath, shitty little property that's $137,000, in Virginia? What would be the reason she would want that property? It doesn't make sense unless, she's getting it for somebody else. But because look, here's the thing. This is something that I know for a fact, right? From my own experiences, right? Whenever you have brothers that become successful, they start making a lot of money, right? In fact, what is Letitia James' net worth? What is her net worth as of 2025? So her net worth ranges from 1 million to 5 million. Exactly. What reason would she want that property? Right. So here's the thing. Whenever you have brothers that gain a certain level of success, if a brother has a family member that needs a place to stay, they'll buy a property and they'll just let them stay in it. Right. But this is what I notice whenever women from our community get a certain level of success. What they'll do is they'll buy a property and they'll let family members stay in it, but they'll charge them rent. They'll charge them rent. One thing about Black culture that nobody talks about is whenever the women are in a position financially to where they're above everybody else in the family, they'll have their primary residence, and if they let family members stay with them, they're going to charge everybody rent. If they get a secondary residence and they let family members stay in there, they're going to charge everybody rent. The one thing I've noticed about the American B-Dub, when she gets into a position of power, she's not generous with money. She's not going to help people. She's only going to help people if it benefits her. Okay? So what they'll do is they'll try every way possible to milk money out of the rest of the family, right? If they have elderly family members, they'll let them stay with them so that they can get their Social Security check or their disability check. They'll let disabled family members stay with them so that they can get their hands on a disability check. Like this is a story as old as time. This is what they do. The men don't necessarily do that. The men will be successful and have a primary residence. They'll let family members stay with them and won't charge them anything. But when it comes to the women in our community, whenever they're in a position of power and they have more than the rest of the family, they're going to try to use that position of power to take as much money from the rest of the family as they possibly can. And I think that's what this was. I think she had a family member that needed a place to stay. It'll come out sooner or later. But I think she had a family member that needed a place to stay. And because when that guy walked up on that house and wanted to ask questions, the way that it was a black woman that was in that house, and from the looks of the outside of the house, it was poorly kept. It was poorly kept, which in my opinion suggests a family member. Why? Because family members don't really appreciate the shit you do for them, right? If it's a person that's in a position where they need help in the first place, they don't have money to rent, they don't have credit or whatever. Because most people be like, well, how does that help the person if she rented it to them? Because sometimes you have family members that are so down bad and their credit is so bad they can't rent a place because they can't get approved. They can't get approved for credit. So guess what? It's a possibility that she had a family member that that credit was so bad they couldn't get a place, right? Or they've been thrown out of places, because that's another thing. You could have family members that get thrown out of places, get evicted and stuff like that, and that's a negative record, and then they can't rent anywhere else. Or you might have family members that have criminal record. They can't rent places because they can't pass the criminal background. It could be any number of things, right? And so it could have been a family member that was in distress. I don't have a place to stay. Well, why you don't rent so-and-so? Well, why you don't rent so-and-so, Susie or Lucille or whatever name you can come up with? Well, I can't. They won't approve me. I tell you what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do to help. I finally figured out what I finally, look, this person probably was calling her, worrying the shit out of her. You know, you never know. It could be a sister. It could be a sister. Let me look it up real quick. Let me look and see if Letitia James. Let's see, Letitia James siblings. Does Letitia James have siblings? She is one of 8 children. She is one of 8 children. So this could be, because look, the reason why I immediately, when I saw the video, when I saw the video of the guy going to that house, and the woman just started yelling, "Get away from this house." I said, somebody told her that if anybody ever come around here asking questions, to run them away. That wasn't an organic reaction. That was a pre-planned, somebody told me not to let nobody, because it's shameful, right? Everybody that's successful have family members that's, you know, that you might not want in the public eye or whatever, right? So I think this person, possibly a sister, possibly a cousin, probably was stressed out, and the only person that they could contact to help them, and if it's a sister, you know, it's a sister. It's like, I got a sister that's an attorney general. I'll call her and ask her for help. I can't get a place. I'm gonna be homeless. You know what? I tell you what I'm gonna do. I've been thinking about it, and I figured out what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy a house in Virginia that you can stay in, but you gonna pay me rent. And that is where the discrepancy came in. That's where the discrepancy came in. Okay. She went and bought it to be a primary residence, right? In order to get a favorable loan. Why? Because I need to get a favorable loan, because I'm not even going to be living in the damn house. I'm not even going to be living in the house. Why am I going to pay extra money for a house I'm not even going to be living in? This is a favor I'm doing for somebody. But Angryman, why would she do that? Because she knew she could get away with it. Because she knew she could get away with it. So it's like, okay, I buy this house, and then later I'll say it wasn't my primary residence. So she bought the house, let the possible family member move into the house, told them, look, if anybody come around here, ask you any questions about me, you better not answer no questions about me. I'm going to put you out. And in fact, let me see if I can find the video. Let's see. I think I might have seen it on TikTok. Let me see if I can find this. Let's see. Letitia James rental property. Do y'all remember the video I'm talking about? Did any of y'all see the video I'm talking about?
We mean no trouble. Hi there. I'm a reporter with the Daily Caller News Foundation. Sorry.
Oh, hold on. Let's pull this up on the big screen. Let's pull this up on the big screen. Let's pull this up on the big screen. Pull this up on the big screen. Let's see if it'll let me log in. Let's see. Let's do this.
I understand. We mean no trouble. It's curious.
Okay, let's see. Let's get it. Let's get her done. Let's get her done. Here we go. Share this screen.
Hi there. I'm a reporter with the Daily Caller News Foundation.
You're trespassing.
I'm sorry.
Trespassing. My kids around here.
I understand. We mean no trouble. We're just curious who the.
But look at how raggedy this house is. Look at how raggedy this house is, bruh. Why would Letitia James buy this raggedy house?
Hi there. I'm a reporter with the Daily Caller News Foundation.
You're trespassing.
I'm sorry.
Trespassing. My kids around here.
I understand. We mean no trouble. We're just curious who the occupants of the home are,
Don't
because
worry
there's
about who's occupants. That's none of your business.
well there are connections to New York Attorney General Letitia James.
That doesn't matter. You're trespassing.
Are you related to Letitia James?
Do you know her? You're trespassing. Go in the house.
Do you know Letitia James? No? Okay.
You're trespassing.
No comment. Thank you,
Don't
ma'am.
pull up to my house no more.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. You have a good one.
Be well. Be well.
I bet you any amount of money. That's Letitia James' sister. I know black people. I know my people, bruh. I'm telling you, I bet you any amount of money. I bet you that's her sister. And she told her sister, if anybody come around here asking, about me, you tell them they trespassing. You tell them, because I'm gonna tell you right now, that's not typically a black people thing. Black people don't say trespassing right away. They don't just go straight to trespassing. You're trespassing. She was coached to say that. You trespassing. You trespassing. You in my, but why? And I'm not even sure. I think that might be the property. I think that might actually be the property. See, here's the thing about this, Letitia James. You in a different era now, sweetheart. You are in a different era now. There's too many people that are looking into everything. And you may not realize it, but you stirred up a hornet's nest. So part 6 right here talks about the loan, basically saying that she had to occupy the residence, not someone else. Now, from the video we just saw, that's clearly not happening. The woman that was at the house did not, if that was the house, right? The woman that was at the house did not confirm whether or not she knew Letitia James or whether or not Letitia James was a relative or whatever, right? So let's just say that, put that out there. So 7, despite these representations, the Perone property was not occupied. Oh, I'm bugging. I got the address. I can just look it up. I can just pull it up and look at it and confirm whether or not it's that address. Hold on. Let me pull up a different tab. Let's see. That is the house. That is the house. That is the house, bruh. Oh my God. That's definitely the house. Oh my God. That is the exact house, bruh. That is the exact house that them dudes walked up to. Oh, yo, you could read this with your eyes closed, bruh. You Yo, it ain't hard to tell what this whole situation is. It is not hard to tell what this entire situation is, man. Yo, man, support the show, support the stream, man. Make sure y'all hitting the Cash App, supporting the show. You feel me? We gonna get back into this this document. We gonna get back into this document. So it said, despite these representations, the Perone property was not occupied or used by James as a secondary residence and was instead used as a rental investment property, renting the property to a family of 3. So that's the woman, and her 2 children. Because if you remember in the video, she was like, get away from me. I got my children around here. And then she yelled at the children, get inside, right? This misrepresentation allowed James to obtain favorable loan terms not available for investment properties, including a note rate of 3%, avoiding a 0.815% higher comparable investment property rate of 3.815, resulting in approximately $17,837 in rate savings over the life of the loan. A seller credit of approximately $3,288, exceeding the seller credit for investment properties by approximately $1,096, for total ill-gotten gains of approximately $18,933 over the life of the loan. See that? Ill-gotten gains. Ill-gotten gains. See, this is drastically different from the Trump situation, right? See, she was going after Trump for overvaluing his Mar-a-Lago property, if I'm not mistaken. Was it his Mar-a-Lago property? I don't think it was Mar-a-Lago. It was some property that she was going after him for, right? The problem is Trump already owns that. He already owns that, right? So it's not like he was trying to trick a bank into giving him a more favorable mortgage by lying on the documents. That's not what he did. What he did was he had someone appraise his property. They gave an appraisal rate that was overvalued based upon what Letitia James was saying. The company that he got the loan from, they gave him the loan. He paid the loan back, and they knew he had overvalued the property. The Deutsche Bank admitted that they knew he overvalued the property, and they really didn't care because they are used to doing business with President Trump, and he's always paid back his loan. So there was no party hurt in that situation. There was no one was defrauded. No one lost any money. There were no damages. In this case, however, the bank and the United States government were defrauded. So it's drastically different if this is what she did. 9 said James universal property application for homeowners insurance indicated owner occupied non-seasonal use, further misrepresenting the intended use of the property. James filed Schedule E tax forms under penalties of perjury, treating the Perrone property as rental real estate, reporting fair rental days, 0 personal use days, thousands of dollars in rents received, and claiming deductions for expenses relating to the property. So not only did she say it was her primary residence, and then went on to rent it out, right? Getting a more favorable mortgage because she claimed it was a primary property. But she then turned around and filed it on her taxes as a rental property and got deductions for expenses relating to the damn property. Boy, you can't make this up, bruh. Further contradicting the second home classification. The loan was acquired by or assigned to First Savings Bank on March 2021, exposing it to risks associated with the misrepresented loan. 12. The acts described herein occurred within the Eastern District of Virginia. Count 1, bank fraud. 13. The allegations in paragraphs 1 through 12 are realleged and incorporated herein. 14. From on or about August 7th of 2020 through at least January 2024, the Eastern District of Virginia and elsewhere, the defendant, Letitia A. James, did knowingly execute and attempt to execute a scheme and artifice to defraud OVM Financial and First Savings Bank financial institutions and to obtain monies, funds, and credits owned by and under the custody of control of OVM Financial and First Savings Bank by means of false and fraudulent pretenses, representations, and promises. 15. The scheme involved falsely represented the Perrone property as a secondary residence to obtain favorable mortgage terms while using it as an investment property with no intended or actual personal occupancy or use by her. In violation of Title 18 U.S. United States Code, Section 1344. Count 2, false statements to a financial institution, 18 USC 1014. The allegations in paragraphs 1 through 12 are realleged and incorporated herein. 17, from on or about July 28th, 2020 through at least August 31st, 2020, the Eastern District of Virginia and elsewhere, the defendant, Letitia A. James, did knowingly make and cause to be made false statements and reports for the purpose of influencing the action of OVM Financial, a Fannie Mae-backed lender, upon an application for a loan in that James represented and affirmed in uniform residential loan applications and related documents that the Perrone property would be used as a secondary residence with, in truth and fact, as James then knew, the property was intended to be used, was intended and used as an investment property with no intended or actual personal occupancy or use by her, in violation of Title 18 United States Code, Section 1014. Forfeiture notice pursuant to Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 32.2A and Title 18 USC 982A2A, upon conviction of the offenses in counts 1 and 2, the defendant, Letitia A. James, shall forfeit to the United States any property constituting or derived from proceeds obtained directly or indirectly as a result of such violations, included but not limited to a money judgment in the amount of $18,933. If any property described above as a result of any act or omission of the defendant, defendant, my bad, A, cannot be located upon the exercise of due diligence, B, has been transferred or sold to or deposited with a third party, C, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court, D, has been substantially diminished in value, or E, has been commingled with other property which cannot be divided with difficulty, the United States shall be entitled to a forfeiture or substitute property pursuant to Title 21 USC 853B as incorporated by Title 18 USC 982B. They're covering all of their bases. So they're basically saying, okay, look, We gonna take this property if you get convicted. If you get convicted, we gonna take this property, and we gonna take any other property that is tied to any of the monies. You feel me? That's tied to any of the monies derived, right? Y'all give me 1 second. So it says, upon conviction of the offenses in counts 1 and 2, the defendant, Letitia A. James, shall forfeit to the United States any property constituting or derived from proceeds obtained directly or indirectly as a result of such violations, included but not limited to a money judgment in the amount of $18,933. So regardless, she gotta come up off that 18 grand if she gets convicted. If she gets convicted, she got to come up off that 18 grand, right? Any property, if any of the property described above as a result of any act or omission of the defendant cannot be located upon the exercise of due diligence, has been transferred or sold to or deposited with a third party. So you're not going to try to put this in somebody else's name to try to get away with this. Okay? Has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court. So you're not going to play any jurisdiction games. Has been substantially diminished in value. And I know why they added that in there, because look at the condition of that place. So they don't care if somebody diminished the value of it. Has been commingled with other properties which cannot be divided without difficulty. And I'm betting that's if you try to take the property and put it in a trust or put it in this and put it in that. That's probably what that's about. The United States shall be entitled to a forfeiture of substitute property pursuant to Title 21 USC 853B as incorporated by Title 18 USC 982B1. Let's see. In accordance with Title 18, blah, 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 blah. Signed, Lindsay Halligan, United States Attorney. So in my humble opinion, I think the only way Letitia James gets out of this is if she goes to a court that's leaning more in her favor. I think that's the only way she gets out of this. Shout out to Treese. Treese says support. Appreciate you. I think that's the only way she gets out of this. She's going to have to find it. When she goes to court, the jury's going to have to be in her favor. Shout out to Erica, said Karma Bus made a stop. Yep. Shout out to Abba's Child, said, good afternoon, AM. I can't access Cash App, but I just wanted to give something to the collection plate. Salute. Appreciate you, broski. So we're gonna see how this plays out with Miss Letitia James. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I don't even care if she goes to prison or not. I don't care if they convict her and lock her up or not. I don't really care about that. The only thing I care about is I hope this results in her no longer getting to be Attorney General of New York. That's my biggest thing. I don't care about her getting locked up or not over something like this. To me, this is petty. This is some petty shit. You know what I'm saying? She broke the law, fair enough, and she should be held accountable. But this is some panty-anty shit right here. I just don't want her to continue to be the Attorney General of New York and still be in that position of power. I'm hoping that this case will disqualify her from being an Attorney General and quite possibly disbarred. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that this will have those sort of ramifications. You feel what I'm saying? Which reminds me, we need to when we get a chance, we need to check in on good old Fannie Willis. We need to check in on old Gorilla Grip. You feel me? We might need to check in on old Gorilla Grip, see what she got going on down there. You feel me? Well, excuse me. Not see what she has going on down there, but see what's going on down in Atlanta. Let me make sure we clarify that, because I'm not trying to find out what she got going on down there. You feel what I'm saying? Shout out to Eric. Appreciate you on the PayPal side of the game. But with that being said, man, we're about to get up out of here. Like I said, man, I'm trying to, we're off to a little bit of a rocky start with the Street Conservative, but I want to try to give you guys the political news, the conservative news in the mornings. You know, sometimes we doing it a little late, sometimes we doing it around lunchtime or whatever, but I still want to be able to, you know, give you guys some news. And yesterday, my apologies for not having the show yesterday. As y'all saw from the story, if you saw the story that I posted, I was engaged in an epic battle with a swarm of yellow jackets that decided to, you know, build a nest in my front yard. But luckily I was able to dispatch those yellow jackets. I'll have you know that I went out there this morning, and yeah, I finished off the hole with I don't know if y'all have ever seen the dust, the 7 dust. It's like this white powder. You spray it in the hole, and it's poisonous to them, so they can't rebuild or continue to, you know. In fact, none of them can. No yellow jackets can go back to that nest and try to re-inhabit it. So when I got up this morning, it was completely clear. There were none in sight. So victory is ours. But to everybody that tuned in, I will be back at you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. I wanted to do this show Monday through Friday, but you know, since we missed yesterday, I'll definitely give you guys a show tomorrow morning, because we want to keep track of what's going on with this whole Letitia James situation and the James Comey situation, the Jack Smith situation. We want to see what's going on with all of these situations, because these people need to be held account for their actions. And that's just what it is. But to everybody that tuned in, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Shout out to everybody that contributed to the show, as always. And I'm going to holler at you guys later on tonight on the main channel. Deuces.